then. Keep your eyes peeled for that if this sounds like a cool game to you. On the Where's the Game Now segment this week, we're going to take a look at one of the hottest games from Gen Con a year ago, Unearth, designed by Jason Harner and Matthew Ransom, and published by Brotherwise Games. I stumbled upon a cool geek list called the Top 50 Releases of Gen Con 2017 that tracked the rise and fall in the rankings of the games released at Gen Con a year ago that wound up being the top 50 highest ranked when Gen Con 2018 happened. Unearth finished as the 18th highest ranked game from Gen Con 2017, though it was as high as the third highest ranked game shortly after the convention ended. That tells me the game was very hyped and received some very positive buzz at release, but was eventually eclipsed by a fair amount of other games that were released at the same time. Today, it's currently ranked just outside the top 1,000 at 1,132. It debuted at number 9 on the top 50 up-and-comers list, and number 49 on the most purchased list when it was added to 631 collections, and lasted an additional month on each of them. It never made it on the most played list, which is surprising as it peaked at over 500 unique players a month. This indicates that few of those players were playing the game multiple times in a single month. Today it has settled to a little less than 200 unique players a month, which has been a consistent figure for several months now. It's interesting to note some of the other games released at the same time that Unearth was. Unearth was initially ranked higher and rising faster than games like The Godfather, Corleone's Empire, Tiny Epic Quest, Caverna KV Cave, Werewords, Near and Far, and even Codenames Duet. So what happened that Unearth eventually slowed down and plateaued in the rankings while these other games didn't? It's tough to say for sure because the game hasn't been talked about lately and hasn't had very many recent reviews. There were several reviews when it first came out, but the last print review for the game was published on BGG 10 months ago. There were never any real negative reviews for the game. Most of them were positive or at least neutral. But if the comments and the trend of unique players is any indication, I think the game has come to be known merely as alright, okay, or thoroughly average. It's the type of game that many people were willing to try based on the buzz, but has apparently failed to maintain the attention it gained when it was first released. I would certainly agree with this apparent general assessment. I tried it shortly after Gen Con a year ago and found it quite underwhelming. It wasn't a bad game, but there was nothing interesting in it. I don't mind simple games if they present some interesting decisions for the players to make. Those games are often quite elegant, but there was nothing elegant in this one. Unearth was just boring. Point at a card and roll a die are hardly what I would call gripping mechanics. Some of the later reviews pointed out a flaw I also identified in the game. The most interesting part of the game was the hex tile laying element to create wonders, but the points gained for this endeavor paled in comparison to the much more lucrative set collection element of the cards that players were placing dice on, which made the most interesting part of the game not worthwhile at all to pursue. An imbalance in the Delver cards and the random way they were awarded didn't help matters either. A lot of people thought the art was the saving grace of this game, but I've never understood that. I thought it was cheap, amateurish, and used a boring dark color palette. It'll be interesting to keep tabs on this game. If the unique player count continues to remain consistent, then this game might stick around in its current niche as a gateway dice placement game. But I suspect Unearth is going to continue to fade from people's memories, and eventually become a pretty obscure title a few more years down the line. We'll see. Well, that will do it for episode 15. Thanks for joining me. Feel free to join the Out of the Dust Podcast Guild at BoardGameGeek.com. Follow the podcast on Twitter at OutOfTheDustBGG. Leave a comment at the Guild. PM me on BGG under user handle Radagast14. Or email me at radagast14@CenturyLink.net. And join the Out of the Dust conversation yourself at our monthly geek list at BGG. Alright, play me out, Ananda.